It was a cold, rainy October evening when Emily drove down the winding roads of Vermont, heading toward her grandmother's old farmhouse. The sky was bruised purple-heavy with storm clouds, and streetlights flickered as though warning her to turn back. Her grandmother Rose had always been peculiar, whispering strange warnings and speaking of things no one could see. Emily had laughed at her warnings for years, but tonight was different. Tonight, her mother was gone, and the farmhouse was the only refuge she had left. As she approached the farmhouse through the mist, it loomed larger than memory allowed, its silhouette black and twisted, windows faintly glowing. The wind carried a strange scent, damp earth mixed with something sweet, rotting, almost alive. Emily stepped out of her car, shivering, and was greeted by her grandmother, small and hunched, but with eyes so piercing they seemed to look through her very soul. "You're late," Rose whispered, placing a trembling hand on Emily's shoulder. "The house doesn't like being empty." Not for long. Inside, the farmhouse was heavy with the smell of old wood and cinnamon. Shadows clung to every corner, stretching unnaturally in the candlelight. Dinner was silent, plates untouched, as Emily tried to make sense of the oppressive atmosphere. "Grandma, what is it about the barn?" she asked finally, unable to contain her curiosity. Rose's hands shook as she set down her fork. "The barn? It's not just a barn. Long ago, this land belonged to something else. Something patient. You must promise me, Emily. Never go near it after dark." Emily tried to laugh, to dismiss the fear curling in her chest, but when she looked out the window, she saw a shadow flicker across the barn. Her heart tightened. Later that night, she lay awake in the guest room, every creak of the old farmhouse sounding like footsteps. A loud thump echoed from the barn, followed by a scraping sound, like claws on wood. Emily's rational mind screamed that it was just the storm, yet a voice soft and familiar whispered her name. Drawn by fear and curiosity, Emily found herself standing at the barn's threshold. Inside, shadows moved unnaturally across the hay-covered floor. In the corner, she saw a pale, small girl, eyes too dark, whispering in a voice that promised secrets she was not ready for. The shadows surged, wrapping around her legs, pulling her toward a room filled with mirrors. Her own reflection stared back, but her eyes were hollow, her face twisted, and behind her she saw ancestors trapped, screaming silently from the glass. A sudden flash of light broke through the darkness, her grandmother at the doorway, holding a glowing charm, casting the shadows into retreat. Emily stumbled back, heart racing, realizing the danger she had narrowly escaped. Grandma Rose explained the history. This land was cursed, the barn a trap, and the shadows fragments of something older than memory, feeding on human fear. Emily understood, for the first time, the gravity of her grandmother's warnings. The following night, the storm returned, heavier and more relentless. Emily and Rose prepared themselves with talismans, herbs, and an ancient dagger, stepping into the barn to confront the entity fully. Shadows swirled around them, whispering and hissing, the mirrors reflecting twisted versions of themselves. The entity emerged, a towering, impossible mass, eyes like black voids, limbs twisting unnaturally. It lunged, reaching for Emily, promising to consume her entirely. With courage she never knew she possessed, Emily chanted the protective words, talismans glowing, as her grandmother struck with the dagger. Light exploded, the mirrors cracked, and the shadows shrieked, retreating into the darkness. Emily's heart pounded as the barn shook violently, dust and hay falling all around, and finally, the entity recoiled, vanishing into the blackness. They had survived, but only just. The barn, the shadows, the entity, they were contained, not destroyed. The next morning, the farmhouse was heavy with silence. Emily packed her belongings, understanding the legacy of fear and vigilance her grandmother had carried for decades. As she drove away, the barn stood in the morning mist, dark and patient, watching, remembering. Emily could feel it lingering, even days later, in quiet rooms, in mirrors, in fleeting shadows at the edge of her vision. Her grandmother's warning echoed endlessly in her mind, curiosity, always curiosity. Some doors are never meant to be opened. Some secrets never meant to be known. Emily realized that the horror had not ended. It waited, patient, lurking in the places no one dared look. And she knew, deep down, that one day curiosity might call again, and if it did, the shadows would return. They always remembered. They always waited. And some warnings were never optional.